I have these friends, Dan and Sheila. They're podcast hosts.
Welcome to Profiling Criminal Minds. I'm Dan.
And I'm Dr. Ribbon.
Oh, Jesus. So as predicted, this is a rough one for us.
Extremely rough.
I mean, you know what's crazy is this episode of television was filmed last year.
Yep.
So to be watching an episode of television filmed last year and have it reflect your life so closely.
You have no idea.
I do.
And half of it. Well, you do.
I do, yeah. They
but
have no
our
idea.
audience
oh my
is going.
God. It's insane.
Has no idea, and we are not going to be talking
No,
about
we're
it.
not going to get into it. We're not monsters. We're not trying to bring people down, but Jesus. It's like, and it speaks, honestly, and I mean, just doff our caps to the entire team of writers. Because I have to imagine, there's a credited writer, but I have to imagine, given how big this was for the show,
yeah,
that everybody at least weighed in a little on this one, you know? And I mean, we can ask Breen about that after the season's over. But I mean, given how huge this episode was for the characters, I have to assume, you know, there was some amount of conversation going around. And I mean, obviously, look, this is a Josh Stewart fan podcast. That's why we're all here. So we were never going to be happy with him being killed off.
No.
Even though we have known it was coming for 2.5 years. But what I will say is you can't get a much better send-off than this.
No, it was a very good send-off. I can tell you that I'm happy enough with the send-off.
It was so respectful. It was so, like, it understood the legacy of these characters' relationships.
Yeah.
You know, like, he really... The fact that they have lost a member of the family for the first time since Gideon died, right?
Yep.
And I would say he is a person who was way more involved in their lives than Gideon ever was.
Yeah. And I mean, I did appreciate that it is the people who weren't the most involved with Will.
Yeah.
Who are like the new...
Yeah, the new cast members.
The new cast members. And, you know, are the ones who got to do the killer
interview stuff this week.
The interview stuff this week.
Yeah, except for David, of course, who had to be there for...
David had to be...
oh my God. We'll talk about the David stuff later. We got to get through all of the Will stuff first. But
I don't know what to... I just
don't know where to start. Okay, so first off, Linda Lavin shows up, and she is coded as a terrible person. And I think it's just partially because we've been through this so recently. It's like, no, man, you don't get to decide what grief looks like. I am totally 100% on her side. And, but I did really appreciate, David's speech to her. Like, feeling you've been cut out of someone's life and, you know, at a pivotal thing that may have caused their death. I understand her feeling like she had been betrayed and cheated out of time with her son. I completely get that. Like, I 100% understand where this character is coming from, and I'm going to defend her actions. And it's not just because it's Linda Lavin, because this is Linda Lavin we're talking about. Alice from the show Alice. Now, anyone younger doesn't understand the importance of the show Alice. But that was, 8 seasons or something?
Oh, yeah.
Heavy into syndication. Never missed it my entire childhood. Gotta be 200 episodes of the thing. And this is the crazy part, based on a Martin Scorsese movie. Of all things.
Of all things, yeah.
Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore, about a woman who leaves her husband and throws away her life and winds up, like, working in a diner in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
And it's a really good movie if you haven't seen it. And then someone said, this should be a sitcom. And the sitcom was so unbelievably successful and culturally relevant. It's one of those things that up until the 90s, you know, everybody remembers Mel from the show, right? It really is like an incredible accomplishment of a TV show. And she was the main character. Like, she was Alice from the TV show Alice. And Linda Lavin never went away, right? That's the thing. She's always been on television. She is, if you look through IMDb, like, there's no breaks. She's just always showing up here and there. I don't know if you watch if you've seen all of Elsbeth, but in the first season, she had a delightful role as the evil owner of the evil head of a co-op building who gets murdered.
That was such a good
episode. Second episode, just fantastic episode of television. I loved it so much. Right? And the crazy part is, I mean, tragically, she did die last year. Yes. And she had just joined the cast as the Sophia on The Golden Gays, which is a gay remake of The Golden Girls, the show Mid-Century Modern. And she was the Sophia of that show. And she tragically died halfway through the season of filming that show. And so who the hell knows if that show's coming back, because they have lost one of their key characters.
Now and we must say she was 87.
Oh yeah, it's not like this was
she finished obviously this episode.
Oh yeah, no, she filmed this episode
in the fall.
Yeah, before her death. But yeah, it was. I mean, it wasn't a surprise. She was an 87-year-old woman, okay? Like, I wasn't shocked by it, but it was still tragic that she was actively working and on the cast of a TV show and showing up on Criminal Minds. And I gotta say, a great performance, right? She never did a bad job. She always showed up and she always did great. And it is really tragic that we lost her. Because even here, she's fantastic in what could have been, I think, a very unsympathetic part. And I think a lot of people will see it as an unsympathetic part.
I think all sorts of people are going to see this as an unsympathetic part. And I'm sitting here going,
No,
she is fully justified in her anger.
Everything she says, in her anger, and what
everything she says.
I mean, given people know this part for us, when she says you're not supposed to lose your child, she's right.
Yeah.
She's right. It's harder for her because that's not the order it's supposed to happen in. So yeah, like, I mean, I hate to quote, God, what show was it? Now I'm going to quote a show that I don't remember what show it was, but it's like, as horrible as losing your spouse or your parent is, parents are supposed to die before their children. And the show acknowledged that the tragic, agreement we all make with our spouses is one of you is going first. And it's horrible, but it
was in this episode.
No, that's what I'm saying. Even this episode acknowledges that. But that's the deal people make when they choose a spouse, is one of you is going to go first. And it's sad, but that's the deal everyone makes. But what, Linda Lavin's character is going through, what, Mrs. Lamontagne is going through, basically never mentioned Mrs. Lamontagne is going through, is worse. Because this is not the order of things. It is against the natural order of how we have all agreed to live. And it is harder for her than it is for anybody else.
Thank you.
Okay. There, I said it so you don't have to. But we are team Mrs. Lamontagne. If that's not clear. We are team Mrs. Lamontagne.
And I would have looked forward to seeing her show up.
Again. No.
Honestly, and that's never going to happen.
Well, no, they can recast her.
Yeah,
if they want to. I would love for them to recast her and for them to follow up on this.
Well, what they could do is take the woman who plays the Kyle MacLachlan lookalike's mother, and she would be because I almost thought, before I realized it was Linda Lavin, I thought, because I've been watching Andor.
Yeah.
And I said, is it the same woman who's in Andor and plays
it's
Kyle's mother?
Yeah.
And
She's been watching Andor, and she's talking about Cyril's mother on Andor.
Yeah, Cyril's mother, right?
She is shocked, and she is correct to be shocked by how much Cyril does look like a young Kyle MacLachlan. He really does.
All he needs is a nose job.
Yeah, and he would look...
Which I'm sure Kyle MacLachlan got.
Wouldn't surprise me. But yeah, like, he does look a lot like a young Kyle MacLachlan. But his mother on that is so... I mean, we're going to talk about Andor on a Sunday show at some point, once we finished watching it. His mother's so fantastic. But yeah, it's the same kind of character. They could swap that woman in, and, you know, I'm not saying nobody would notice, but it would work perfectly.
Well, yeah, because she actually... All you have to do is do the hair correctly.
It's just nice to know that even in space, there are meddling Jewish, overprotective Jewish mothers.
Yes.
Even in space. Sorry, that's enough Andor for today. But yeah, we are very much Team Linda Lavin here. I would think everything... I understand why JJ can't hear it and JJ can't cope, but Linda Lavin's not wrong about anything she says.
No, and this is why the speech, the conversation she has with Joe Montaigne
David's speech is so good.
Is so good. David's speech is so good, and it is, and I'm, and it's so, it was very nice that she showed up to just stand at the back.
Yeah, you can't take this stuff back. You will always, him essentially saying you will never you will never have been here if you choose not to be here now, right?
Yeah.
Like these moments matter, and they like whatever her problems with her daughter-in-law are, right? Yeah. Like she's got to be there, and she's got to be there for the grandchildren. And I'm not even saying she's wrong to have problems with JJ. We have our problems with JJ.
Yes, and I don't know that we're going to go into some of them tonight. It's going to be interesting to see how this goes along.
But
because and it is true, and it is a we are constantly being reminded that everybody handles grief differently.
Yeah. Oh, and I mean they full on say it, with the wonderful bespoke suit line, right? And there's no right way to grieve, but I will say there are wrong ways to grieve.
But and I mean AJ's, as I said, AJ's speech, like I can't imagine what possessed her to even think she could speak.
Yeah, I know. She should not have tried.
Yeah, she should not have tried, but then again she fell apart, and then again David Rossi comes into the rescue.
Yeah, and it's
to say you've got to do more of this.
It's fantastic. Yeah. Be open. Yeah. Well, no, but I mean, that is weirdly, do you know the moment I loved most about the episode? Is she spends 2 days freaking out about not being able to find Michael's gift. And Henry has had it the whole time. And we realize this is a tiny metaphor for the fact that, because she created all of this drama and heartache for herself because she couldn't be open with her children about what was going on. Because if she had said to Henry, do you know what this is, where it is, he would have told her immediately.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't have had all of this time of being frustrated and searching and freaking out in recriminations. But she's not open to people.
No.
And it's something she's always had to work on. And that's why it's such a great moment with Henry, right? Because he's saying, he doesn't say you've got to be more open to people, but he shows her that it's like, we have to do this together, right? You're not an island trying to figure it out. We have to do this together. I can be there for my little brother when Will isn't. And I'm like, damn, that was a great moment.
It was a moment. It was a great moment. It is. I'm sure we will have more to say as we go along.
Oh, absolutely.
But at this point, it is hard. But all I could do was sit and think about. This thing just kicks off so many different aspects.
I know,
because of course I lost my father young.
Yeah.
And my sisters were even younger.
Yep.
And It was sudden as well. We've talked about that last week.
Yeah.
And it was sudden, however you want to talk about it. And I cannot imagine. My mother was in a state and complete opposite. My mother couldn't even speak to anybody.
Yeah.
Like people would talk to her, and she would talk, if she talked at all, she spoke in Dutch for at least.
Well, here's something that is going to fascinate
people.
This is something that fascinates me. One time, I asked you.
Yeah.
And the thing is, my grandmother grew up in the Netherlands, right? But she was out of the Netherlands by the time she was in her 20s. And so one time I asked you why she has such a heavy accent.
Yeah.
Because she had a very heavy accent for a woman who'd been living in Canada since the 1940s, right?
Yeah. Yep. 46.
And this is the thing that shocked me, that, made me really blown away by what grief can do, is that she didn't used to have that accent.
No.
She had lost the accent.
Completely.
And her husband's death mentally affected her so profoundly and drove her back to her childhood in such a way that, as you say, for a while she could only speak Dutch. And then for the rest of she had a thick accent.
Yeah, well, it wasn't as thick as some of the others, but
but it was. She had a very pronounced Dutch accent for the entire time I knew her, right?
Yeah. And
for my entire life. And that was all, that is what grief can do to you.
Yeah.
And that is what these horrible things can do to you.
Just to say this, just to explain this, when I was in my 20s, so this is when I was dating your dad or married to your dad, but
probably
somebody
married.
called.
I think married.
Well, and I was working at the bank, and my mother phoned for some reason.
Yeah.
And to the bank, I don't even remember what it was. And somebody came up to me and said, Sheila, I think it's your mother, because she said for a minute I had to do a double take and thought it was you. Like my mother sounded
because they sound, you sounded so alike. Yeah.
Yeah. Until my dad died. And that was just, as I said, everybody, I mean, for her, it took her the full 7 friggin' years.
Mm-hmm.
So, to kind of start living her life again. But yeah, this was a very, very good episode. I think that they, when Matt came in, for example, everybody hugged.
I was so happy.
It was so good, and everybody hugged.
That's the part I teared up at, by the way. Yeah,
Pardon?
That's where I teared up, by the way.
Yeah. Except for the 2 people who didn't really know him that well.
Yeah, of course. No,
like Rebecca and
Rebecca and Tyler don't know him.
Don't know him at all. No. So they shook hands. I really, everything about this.
It's so
was so well done. They must have taken heartfelt. So much time writing this to get the right beats.
Absolutely. I don't think this is the kind of thing that just falls out of a keyboard.
No. And
I think they really thought about it felt like every moment of this was precise and so right for all of the characters.
Yeah. It is interesting. And, so Jennifer I can get sort of teed off. There are things I was thinking and then I'm going, but no. This is actually the way Jen would react. Yeah. This is, it is, everything was true to the characters. It is
completely consistent with who she is and has always been on the show.
Yeah. And it is going to be very interesting going forward, watching how she's handling all of this.
Absolutely. No, it's like they wanted, you can listen to the Q&A. They wanted to do something big for her character. And this is going to give her so much to play in a way that, I'm going to say it, the AI revenge porn didn't really give her a lot to play last year because the plot didn't really make sense.
No. Although there was that little
nod to it in
the first
last
episode.
That was last week because it was literally immediately before Will died.
Yeah,
that she was worried about it.
No, I thought that this was all very good. It was all
so well done.
Could you have watched? He didn't write the note. I should have seen that. Well, And all of those things, I've done that second guessing myself.
Mm-hmm.
And all of Redmond's friends did that second guessing.
Yeah.
If only we had
X, Y, or Z. Yeah.
X, Y, or Z, and that's what she's saying. And she should have. No, it would have happened anyway.
Yeah.
That if she had noticed, got him to the hospital earlier.
What she would have noticed 20 minutes earlier, it's still an aneurysm. Like, the tragic part about aneurysms is it's incredibly hard to fix them because it is a blood vein bursting and damaging everything around it and flooding your body with blood. Like, even if you're already in the hospital when it happens.
Well, my dad.
This is my point. If you're in an emergency room when the aneurysm happens, there's no guarantee they're going to be able to save you.
No,
it is one of the least savable things that can happen to a person.
Yeah, because it happens so suddenly.
Exactly. So suddenly, so without warning.
Yeah.
Right?
Because they don't.
No.
So that's... So, I mean, I was wondering after I finished the episode whether we would be able to talk about it. And yes, we can. And and
it's tough.
And it has been rough sort of watching it because we only did a celebration of life, which was very different. This was a full-scale funeral in the church. And they picked apart. There was nothing. I would say, I don't know how difficult it was shooting it. The writing must have been what was the problem, like the most difficult part of this.
Yeah.
But they did it, and they did it well. And we didn't want Will to die.
No. Well, no, but I mean, the way British shooting it, I don't think would be as bad because it's not as emotional as episodes where they're doing this because an actor has died in real life.
Oh, well, that's a whole other thing.
But that's my point. It's like, Joss Stewart is fine. Joss Stewart is doing just fine. There's nothing wrong with Joss Stewart.
No. So it's just Will Lamontagne.
He was filming with them the previous week.
Yes. And as I said, in our petty little criticisms, we can avoid.
Oh, absolutely. We're not
because there are, and not because of the episode. I am sure that if your brother, my son, hadn't died, we would be tackling this entirely differently. And I don't know how. No
I'm just sure we would.
Yeah, you can't wonder about it, except it would have been bad. And I would have said, oh, this is like, I would have still been on team Lamontagne.
Absolutely.
This is Lamontagne.
Well, yeah, because, I mean, it's not like we've ever not been critical about the way JJ deals with stuff.
Yeah.
Like, we've been so critical about JJ's, coping skills and her refusal to accept help and her hiding. Like, that's how we've always been with her.
Yeah, and so she doesn't know. She has she's depended on Will for, as they said, 18 years. Well, it's really, he wasn't there the first year.
No, he was there in season 3.
Yeah, so it's, No,
but that's 18. Yeah. That, you got to remember.
That would be 18 real
18
years. Yes. That would be 18 real
This
years.
is season 18, but they took 3 years off, so it ends up being the same amount of time. They're right to call it 18 years. I mean, they were only dating at the start, but still. Like, he was a constant, what do you call it? He was a constant supportive presence in her life that entire time.
Yes.
And the show's very clear about that.
And
again, if you go back and listen to our show, who the hell knows? If you go back and listen to our episodes, we have been very clear. There is one message, which is that he is too good for her. And he always was too good for her. She did not deserve a partner that wonderful. And that has been consistent the entire time we've been talking about this show. And, like, I don't know what she's going to do without it.
Like, it is very interesting. There are other things, like she can't even deal with her own mother,
Yeah, I know.
It is truly amazing to watch it, but it was done so
trying to make it about you. It's as much about her as it is about you. This is her son.
Yeah.
And you know what? And her mother. I mean, okay, trying to make it about her mother. Sister. Her mother, yeah, right.
Yeah.
Trying to make it about her dead sister. Okay, that's a little further, but at the same time, it brings up a lot of stuff. You know?
Yeah, it does. It you can't, I mean, we are now what, March, April, May. We are now 2.5 months almost.
And it's still...
And there are still things. I went to the dentist yesterday. I walked in and she says, "How are you?" And I said, "Not well." And that was it. I got the basic cleaning because I spent most of the hour bawling and telling her the whole story, right?
Yeah. Well, but
and because I see the same dental hygienist all the time. So she's part of my life, right?
Yeah. And she didn't know that you've had a major... No. And that's the horrible thing is like you walk into people and they have no idea that your life has been completely shattered.
Yeah. And
right? So they don't know that they're supposed to treat you differently. But who the hell knows how anybody's supposed to treat anybody because we don't know what's going on with them. And
if you've had those kinds of things happen to you, the suddenness and the rest of it, you have some understanding. There's no question, right?
Yeah.
That you have some understanding about what it is like. And I've always gone back to the death of my father because that was a pivotal moment. It was just so shocking and so unexpected. It's like for Henry and for, what is the young one's name?
Is
his real name.
His real name. Yeah, it's Henry and, oh God, it's bad that we don't know the younger son's name.
Matthew.
I was using it earlier.
Matthew.
It's Michael.
Michael. There.
Michael.
I got the M. Yeah. But yeah, no, I think that, and the kids, are, clearly need their grandmothers.
Oh yeah. I'm just, as I will always say, that we don't need to remember his name because if she were a good partner, he would be named William Lamontagne III.
Yeah. Okay. Now call back because Redmond was supposed to be called Henry the VII or the VIII,
I know.
So yeah, no. I'm
but
sorry.
you had the death of a parent to justify, but justify the name change. She got nothing. She got no excuse for not calling one of those two kids William Lamontagne.
Okay, now we're getting off on a tangent,
I know.
And we shouldn't be bashing JJ at this point.
No,
we can bash
we
JJ
can bash her next week
afterwards.
And all that.
Let
her grieve.
She's gonna screw up at some point. She needs to grieve just like I do.
Absolutely,
and you do, and everybody else.
We're not going to criticize us. So we're not going to criticize
who's been watching it.
I agree wholeheartedly.
Okay,
but I felt the need to do the drive-by the way I always do when I talk about the relationship.
Yes, I know because you're such a Will fan.
I am. Are you kidding me?
Yes. So, I mean, I think Kirsten, they picked the right
fantastic.
way. Like
Emily
all of
calling
the
back
examples,
to the season 7 ender with the time they got in the bank hostage situation and he got a bomb strapped to him. Oh my God. Yeah. Such a fantastic,
and I think
perfect callback.
And not only that, but the choices that they made of the flashbacks, like everything worked. It was perfect.
It was a perfect character send off. When you have to lose a character who is this meaningful a show, you want it to be perfect, and they did it.
Yes, and it was perfect. So
Again, I'll criticize JJ. I'm not going to criticize the writers. They did an amazing job. The editors did an amazing job. The actors,
did an amazing job. There was nothing. This was that part of the episode.
I've never questioned AJ Cook. JJ, the character, is the one who is constantly making. So please
understand that, right?
She's doing a great job.
She did a great job.
Has always been a complete mess.
Yeah,
but it's part of her character that she's a complete mess.
I mean, she's handling this the way you would expect her to.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there's not a flawed thing. No, this is okay.
But the genius of having Joe just tell her, you have to communicate. Because that's what you don't like. That's what you've never done, and it's what you don't do. And that's why it's so sweet that her going and talking to her son is what gets her the gift.
Yeah. And hopefully
opening up to her son. right? Her trying to communicate, and hopefully she takes that lesson. But the fact that the show is able to actually, it is not, again, willing to criticize its characters finally. It is able to call her out for the fact that she is so closed off and she never communicates. And that is her great flaw, and that's the thing that most damaging. And she's haunted by it because she's like, did he know how important and everything he meant to me? And of course,
my mother did that. Oh,
of course, right?
You know,
right? Or was she too closed off? And the show is actually criticizing a character for something that the character has always been, but they would never dare to say in the past. This is why evolution is so good.
Yeah.
It's understanding what its characters are and seeing their flaws and actually respecting the audience enough to make their characters do the hard work. I love it.
Yeah. I have no complaints with that part of it.
Oh,
at all. Good. They handled everything. I mean, and I cried when the coffin went into the ground. It was
so beautifully handled.
It worked so beautifully. So
and
that's
unsurprisingly, Hotch sent the best flower arrangement.
Yeah, there.
That's not a surprise. He is a man who is going to do that stuff right.
Yep.
Like, of all the characters obviously going to do that right, it's Hotch who's going to do that right completely.
Mm-hmm.
But it made me happy nonetheless.
Yeah.
Just seeing it. So I really enjoyed that. God, I'm so happy Spencer showed up. I'm confused as to what his job is. I guess he works for the State Department?
Well, we're still confused about what he does.
They're like, he works for your old boss. He got the morning off because he works for your old boss at the State Department, who used to be your boss at the State Department. I'm like, hey, first off, what job is he doing that he can't take a morning off for a funeral and he needs like a special dispensation? It's insane. Like, one of his closest friends has just died. You can go to the funeral. Like, it's weird. Right?
It is weird. Maybe nobody's supposed to know he's in town.
Maybe. Like, what the hell is this man doing?
Yes, and we'll never find out.
No, we'll never find out because he's off doing another TV show, so he can't come back and explain. It's very baffling.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
But it was nice. I
was so happy to see him. Are you kidding me? No, I was incredibly happy to see Spencer. Oh.
And as Henry said, I told you he'd come.
Of course.
Of course he was going to come.
Oh, made me so happy. And it is great that her real life sons get to play the sons in the show. I think that makes me really happy too. It's always great to see them, you know. And hey, maybe they'll continue acting. Who can say? But it's great that they get to play the kids on the show, and they so integrated her real life kids into the character. Like, thank God they did that. Oh, it makes me so happy. All right, so let's move on from an incredibly well done episode, right? Part of the episode, including, right, what I will say is I was very happy with, again, yes, the show is coded to have us not be on Linda Lavin's side, but it allows us to be on her side if we want to by not making her out to be a complete monster. By understanding
because they reconcile at
grieving.
The end.
Not only do they reconcile at their own end, at the end, but David Rossi is very understanding for how she's reacting, and the message keeps being reinforced. Everybody gets to grieve in their own way. Yeah. So I thought it was very well done.
Yeah. I am in full agreement with that.
Yeah. All right. No, you don't have to throw the eggs away. Eggs keep in the fridge. Pop those eggs in the fridge. You're going to have them tonight. It's fine.
Yeah.
Right. So, let's talk about Voight and how fantastic the Voight stuff this week was.
I'm still, I
know you still think he's 100% faking. I get that. Right. But it's so good this week.
No, I mean, and the episode wants to keep you on the idea that somehow or another he's just having flashbacks.
Yeah.
Right. And, rather than memories. He talks about the
fire that killed his parents and and he asks if that's what happened to his kids because he's remembering the fire that killed his parents. And we're definitely, and that's what happened on 2nd Street, we have to assume, because that's going to pay off at some point. But I'm still up in the air about whether he's faking it or not. I think there's a very good chance that the amnesia is real. And
well,
even
David Rossi is kind of questioning it now.
I think you might be the only one left who doesn't believe he's actually lost his memory.
I'm sitting there watching.
I know. Well,
I'm sitting there watching, and I'm just going.
I'm not
particularly when they bring in the woman, whatever her name was,
the strangle woman from the. Yeah, I know.
That episode that was such a riot when he's trying. He kidnaps her because she's like his wife.
Yeah. Demographically similar to his wife.
Right.
Like,
so
I can figure out, right, how to talk to my wife about this.
Yeah. But she looks but at the end, she says he's faking it.
Yeah.
She is convinced that he is still the same cruel, and she knows him from a different perspective than anybody else does.
Absolutely.
She's the only one because she saw him kind of
doing this
weird thing.
Faking it. Yeah, and that it's a manipulation. But by the end of the episode, she does seem to think that he's different enough that he might no longer be a threat. So she's still horrified and she still wants him to be punished, but she seems to have gotten enough closure that he is no longer a threat, that she can try to go back to her family. And so we'll see how that goes for her.
Well, that may be because she's in the hospital.
Yes.
He's in the hospital and he's chained.
And he is chained up.
Right? So that he can't get to her. So that allows her, and she says she's willing to go and testify and the rest of it. And she's going to begin to get her life back now.
It is a very good idea.
Yeah. I mean, it is, that was even that was sort of all of it, right?
Yeah.
It works. It's just Voight and it's well done. And they have he has those, what people can call flashbacks. We'll call memory. I'll call memories.
You call a memory.
And
the show is showing them as flashbacks. You're just going to say memories, and that's okay.
And so, finding memories he can use.
Yeah.
Right?
He can use to manipulate people.
Because he is an arch manipulator no matter what.
Yes, but we have to remember, it has been confirmed by an MRI now that he is feeling empathy. So even if he can remember, the fact that he can feel empathy now,
you see,
I'm just saying, will affect, right, him as a person. Because, like, let's say he remembers everything, and you're right, he remembers everything, he is now capable of feeling guilt, which he never was before.
Well, but we were watching him feeling guilt before this.
No, we weren't. Not guilt. I don't know that we ever felt like we saw him frustrated at his inability to make stuff work. But that's still all factors under narcissism. And we saw him worried about his child, right? Going down a bad path, which, again, narcissists can be very invested in how their child do because they see them as extensions of themselves. We have never seen him feel guilt for anything until the possibility of now, until we see him freaking out here at the idea that he has hurt people, and that's why he's locked up.
Yeah, well,
this is the first glimpse of what might be guilt. And because you have to have empathy really to feel guilt, he may be feeling and again, I'm assuming you're correct and he remembers everything, he might be feeling guilt for the things he did now. Because
he remembers. He remembers. And I would only argue that this probably has reawakened something that occurred before he killed his parents, or
Yes.
we don't even know if he killed his parents exactly. We're assuming that.
We're assuming that he started the fire that killed his parents. Yes.
Yes.
Because
And
that's how he was
may
treated
have been
his
an
entire
accident.
childhood. It might have been an accident, and he was just treated that way his entire childhood and turned into a monster, as happened on a certain episode of Profiler that we thought was very good.
Yes. So it may be that it was an accident, and then everybody just blamed him for it.
Yeah.
And so he does have, because he was older when he was taken by his uncle.
Yes.
So I'm still gonna I'm way
You're still on team
line.
manipulation, but I want to remind you that even on team manipulation, he still has empathy now. That's the key part. Whether or not he's manipulating people, because it's not like people with empathy can't be scumbag manipulators. They absolutely can, right? 100% they can, but having empathy and feeling other people's emotions, right, and being able to project other people's emotions onto himself is an entirely new thing for him. That's why he had to kidnap a woman to try and figure out what his wife was going to do. Because he fundamentally can't see stuff from other people's perspectives. Right? And so now he can. Now that doesn't mean he's not a monster. It doesn't mean he's not faking. It doesn't mean he's not, still have all of these murderous drives in him. But the very fact that he is capable of feeling empathy separates this version of him from who he used to be. So even if everything about the amnesia is a fake, he is still a very different person because he can feel empathy. And that is what's going to be interesting to see going forward.
Well, and what I am still going to say is I am going to reserve massive, it's going to take a lot. I can't really think about this right now.
No, of course.
Because what's happening...
Episode 3. There's 10 episodes. We're going to have time to go over this.
Yeah, no, we'll go over this later because, I could use an example and go, and then I'm going, I don't really want to do that.
Okay.
That's too much time and trouble and very complicated and blah, 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 blah.
I understand.
I don't really want to do that right now.
Right.
No, this episode is... both parts of it are very good.
Again,
excellent.
Here's the thing I can't stop talking about, right? About this show is, and again, I'm not going to say we're responsible for this by any stretch of the imagination, but when we were talking, because obviously we've talked to Brian about the way they want to use what they have, but we talked for years on the podcast, and we joked about how this was Joe Montagne's retirement.
Yeah.
Right? He would show up, he would read his 12 lines, and he would go home, and the man didn't care. Right? And then,
except about doing a good job of his lines.
He had to remember his lines. And he had to deliver them with gravity, or like he was being a dick to somebody. That's what he did, okay?
Yeah.
And then once every 2 years or so, we would get an episode where they allowed Joe Montaigne to stretch.
Yeah.
They allowed Joe Montaigne, whether it's his dying wife, whether it's his sudden daughter, whether it's what they tried to do with the mask, the chameleon, right?
Yeah.
They would, every now and then, they would give him a chance to really stretch. And you would watch and be like, oh, right, this is literally Joe Montaigne, one of the best actors of his generation. And it was so rare that we got to see it. And the fact that every season they have found something for Joe Montaigne to do that is worthy of Joe Montaigne in this evolution.
By the way, he directed this episode.
I'm not surprised.
No.
He is such a good TV director now.
Yeah.
He has really grown into it. Right? But the fact that Joe Montaigne, that every season they have known what they have in Joe Montaigne. They have recognized whether, again, it's stuff with his army buddy, right? They would find an episode where they're the Meshach Taylor stuff. Yeah. They would find a way, once every season or every 2 seasons to give him something to do. But there is no there is no holding back Joe Mantegna anymore. The first season, his wife has died and he is inconsolable. The second season, he is dealing with the trauma of her void. This third season, he is forced to be around the man he hates more than anybody in the world and control it, because that's what a professional does, and remove every instinct he has, right? Oh my God, they are giving him so much to do. It makes me so happy, because it's like, to watch them know what they have in Joe Mantegna and fully exploit. Because like, when I watched this is the Joe Mantegna that we loved for his entire career.
Yeah.
Right? This is the Joe Mantegna of Bugsy and Homicide and House of Games. And, you know, I will say it, Godfather Part 3. If you want to see a great Joe Mantegna performance, load up Godfather Part 3. He's not in a lot of it, but he is amazing in that movie.
Yes, trust me, it's a lousy movie, but
it's not a good movie at all. No. But he is so good in that small part in that movie. I love him in that movie. Right? And so you watch this and you're like, yes, this is the Joe Mantegna we're here for. They are giving him a reason to get up out of bed and just put everything on the table. Right? Yeah. The stuff is there on the page for him to really, really stretch as an actor. And I love watching it, because we have always been fans of Joe Mantegna. And I mean, you can listen to our episodes to hear us joke about him on the show. But it's not a joke anymore. He's doing great.
Yep. You see, we old folks can still bring it.
Exactly, right? This late in his career, this man is absolutely nailing it every week.
And may he go on as long as Linda Lavin did.
Exactly. Oh, and again, I don't want to overlook what a great job Voight is doing.
Oh, well, I mean, that's just off the charts.
I know. He's off the charts. How good. I
can see why everybody
loves working with him. Yeah.
Well, not just loves, but how Elias, like, he just does such a good job
of suckering people. Yeah. Whether it's true or not, the performer, right? Whether it's the character or the actor doing this performance, it's such a good performance.
Yeah. I mean, it has to be the actor.
Yeah, well, of course.
You know, but so it is.
Yeah, but I'm saying whether the character is the one doing the acting or whether he actually has the character actually has amnesia and it's just the actor. Like, whoever is the actor is doing an incredible job is what I'm trying to say. Yeah. It's just we don't know if Elias Voight is as good an actor as the man playing Elias Voight. Now we're getting weirdly meta. Okay, now we're just getting insanely
Let's
meta.
Stop.
Okay, all right.
It's
don't have to go down that meta rabbit hole.
No.
But no,
not today.
He's doing an incredible job. When he looks to Dave to ask if he should do it. Oh my God. Just him looking to David Rossi with implicit trust. Because in his head, whether this is a performance or whether it's what the character thinks, David has replaced his father. Right? That's fantastic.
Yes.
That look he gives him. And when David says he should do it, and he's like, okay. It's so good. Yeah. It's such a good performance by him.
No, it is.
Blown away.
Yep.
I was blown away by this man's performance.
Yeah. The episodes 1, 2, 3, just each one gets better.
Yeah. The whole season so far, it's just been getting better as it goes, and I can't wait to see where it goes from here.
Yep.
Wow. All right, so we're gonna wrap it up now. Slightly shorter episode because again there wasn't a lot of plot this week. It was all character stuff, and we're definitely going to.
It was emotionally wrenching for us, so
it was. So we're going to take a pass. But I will say something that I will recommend some people check something out. So here's a fun fact about me: I've never actually watched Miami Vice. I've seen episodes here and there, right? But I've never sat down and watched the show. Right?
Okay.
And so I'm sitting down and watching Miami Vice, and I had always heard that it had the most amazing guest stars. But it is insane the people they got to be on this show. Because it's whether it's actual famous people like Burt Young being on that, or the casting people, finding Michael Madsen in his first performance ever, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm watching the first season, and everybody is somebody amazing. And let's face it, people who would go on to be on Crime Story and then Wise Guy, right? It's like the level of people you have on the show is incredible. I'm watching the show, and it's like Michael Madsen's in an episode, and then the next episode, the guy who played Paul Patrice on Wise Guy is on it, and then the next episode after that, the guy who played Joey Grasso is on it. I'm like, oh my god! Like everybody we loved from Wise Guy was on this show first before they were even on Crime Story. So yeah, we
will not tell you that this is a good show.
I will not say it's a great show.
I watched the first episode. I understand it's on Prime.
It's on Prime, so we
like
can
I don't know whether it's.
I don't think it's on Prime in America. Weirdly, it might just be in Canada. Tragically.
Well, it's because it might be on one of the things, but exactly. So there's I started watching it.
It's not a great show.
And I'm about halfway through the first episode, and I'm going, "Oh, yeah. Really? So did we?" Because I'm sure we near the end of it. I don't. No,
we watched episodes in the fourth season. Right
that was
at the
it.
End. Exactly. When Sonny had amnesia and actually became a drug dealer for a while.
Oh,
not
it was
just a pretend drug dealer.
God, it was not a great show.
It was
but
not
anyway,
a great show. No.
But yes, to see all of these different people who then go
actors.
On. Yeah.
Who go on. Ed O'Neill is in it. Bruce Willis is in it.
Yeah.
In an amazing oh my god, Bruce Willis is so good in his episode.
Yeah. Like it's funny. It's watching this. It's like putting Miami Vice on your resume would get you another job.
Absolutely. That's what it was.
Is that how it feels when you're watching? Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing. All right. So just want to recommend everybody, if you want to see the most 80s thing that's ever happened, watch Miami Vice. If you want to know what the 80s were, go watch Miami Vice.
That's true. That's true.
And I'm not saying it's good. I'm saying, here, look, it's the 80s in a very digestible package. And Keith Siarbayaka?
Yeah.
Right? He did an episode where he plays a redneck, like, gator poacher who has to get Sonny and Crockett and Tubbs' help to rescue his daughter who's been kidnapped by drug traffickers. Like, it's not a good show, okay? But it's a hell of a watch.
I guess it was, but was Equalizer after that? Like the original Equalizer?
Because with Edward Woodward, if his performance on this is what got him the audition for the Equalizer, where he was so good,
and then he became a regular. He was part of the cast.
He started as a guest, and then he became part of the cast because Edward Woodward didn't want to have to do foot chases. So that was Keith Siarbayaka.
He's getting old at that point.
I'm a 55-year-old man. I don't want to chase people down alleys. We're going to have a kid on the show to do that.
I like my long coat.
Exactly. I'm in my long coat. I walk around. It's great. We're going to have someone else do the foot chases. And that's why Keith Siarbayaka was on the show.
Yeah.
And always wonderful, prominent voice actor now.
Yeah.
All right. So we're going to wrap it up here. Thank you so much for listening to the degree that you were able to hear us dealing with some stuff this week. Thank you so much. We will see you back here next time for more Criminal Minds. But before then, if you have any questions, if you have any comments, if there's any profiling related fiction you'd like us to check out, drop us a line at profilingcriminalminds@gmail.com. We would love to hear from you. If you're listening on an app podcast or watching on YouTube, rate, review, and subscribe. That's how people find out about the show. We'll see you next week for episode 4, and there will be a Sunday show whenever she finishes watching Andor. We're just going to talk about Andor for like an hour. So get ready to check that out. We'll see you back here for that. But until then, I'll say that's right. Au revoir.
And have a good week.